I don't know why I'm writing this. Maybe it's guilt, maybe it's desperation, or maybe I just want someone, anyone, to believe me before it all ends. The truth is, I should have never taken the money. I grew up in a dying little town in northern Nebraska, the kind of place people only stop in if they've run out of gas. The highway bypass killed it years ago, and now there's just the grain elevator, a shuttered diner with sun-faded menus still taped to the windows, and an old roadside motel called the Cedar Pines Lodge. The motel was owned by an old man named Earl. He had the permanent look of someone who'd smoked for 50 years but hadn't gotten around to dying yet. Everyone in town knew him. He kept the rooms clean enough, rented them out to truckers, and sometimes to drifters who never left. I worked odd jobs. Yard work, hauling scrap metal, anything that got me $50 to keep the lights on in my trailer. It was one of those lives where you count every dollar, every gallon of gas, every meal. So when Earl pulled me aside one evening and offered me $1,000 in cash, I thought I'd misheard him. He said it in his gravelly smoker's voice, looking around like someone might overhear. "Boy," he told me, "I'll pay you $1,000 if you spend just one night in room 6. That was it. No explanation, just a number and a key. I laughed at first because it sounded like one of those old urban legends. But Earl's face didn't crack. He slid a wad of bills halfway out of his pocket, just enough for me to see the rubber band holding them together. $1,000. I hadn't seen that much money in one place since my mom died and left me her life insurance policy. That money was long gone, eaten up by debts and rent. I asked him why room 6. He didn't answer right away, just licked his lips, looked toward the highway, then back at me. "'Cause no one else will," he muttered. "Not anymore." I should have walked away right then, but when you're broke, money talks louder than your instincts. That night, I stood outside room 6 with the brass key heavy in my hand. The sun had just dropped behind the fields, and crickets filled the silence. The room looked no different than the others, same dull white paint, same peeling green trim. But the curtains were drawn tight, and the door felt colder than the others when I touched it. Inside, the air smelled faintly metallic, like coins soaked in water. The carpet was threadbare, the lamp flickered, and the wallpaper had this yellowing stain near the corner that looked too much like a handprint to ignore. I set my bag down on the bed and sat there, listening. The room had a hum to it, low and constant, like the vibration of power lines. I tried to tell myself it was just my imagination. Around midnight, I heard the first knock. It was soft, hesitant, just 3 little taps on the door. I froze, thinking maybe Earl was checking up on me, but when I looked through the peephole, the walkway outside was empty. The knocks came again, this time from the bathroom door. I swear to God, I hadn't even opened the bathroom yet. My breath caught in my throat as I turned the knob. The bathroom was dark, except for the buzzing fluorescent light above the mirror. No one was inside, but the shower curtain swayed as if someone had just stepped out of sight. I yanked it open, empty. The mirror, though, that was worse. For just a second, my reflection lagged, like I moved faster than it did. My mouth was open, but the reflections was still closed, and then it snapped to catch up. That was when I realized the metallic smell was stronger, like wet pennies stuffed up my nose. I tried to leave. I swear I did, but the door wouldn't open. The key turned fine, the knob twisted, but it was like pulling against concrete. I even kicked it until my toes went numb, but it didn't budge. At 2:17 a.m., the phone rang, one of those ugly beige motel phones bolted to the nightstand, the kind nobody uses anymore. I picked it up with shaking hands. There was no dial tone, just a whisper. A woman's voice, low and broken, like someone who'd been crying for hours. She said, "Don't take the money. He doesn't give it to you. He gives it to us." Before I could say anything, the line went dead. I sat there in the dark, staring at the stack of bills Earl had left for me on the dresser. I hadn't touched them, but they looked different now, damp around the edges, almost pulsing. That's when I heard movement under the bed, not scratching, not mice, breathing, slow, shallow breaths. I dropped to the floor, heart hammering, and lifted the blanket. There were hands pressed up against the slats, dozens of them, pale and gray, reaching out of the carpet itself like the floor was made of water. Fingers grasping, flexing, straining toward me. I stumbled back, hit the wall, and for a moment I couldn't breathe. The hands melted back into the floor as though they'd never been there. I don't remember falling asleep, but I must have blacked out. When I woke, the sun was bleeding through the curtains. The room was silent, normal. The smell was gone. The money was still on the dresser, neat and dry, like nothing had happened. I snatched it up and bolted. Earl was waiting outside, leaning on the railing with a cigarette. He didn't ask how the night went. He just nodded, flicked ash over the edge, and muttered, "Told you it was easy money." I didn't say a word, just left. That should have been the end of it, but the money won't go away. It's been 3 weeks, and the bills are still in my drawer. I tried to spend some groceries, gas, a pack of smokes, but the next morning, the money was back in the drawer, the exact same bills. I burned one in the sink, the ashes smelled like rot, but the next morning the stack was whole again. And at night, I hear the knocks, not at the door anymore, at the walls, the windows, the underside of my bed. I don't think the money belongs to me. I think Earl was right. It belongs to them. And I think they're coming to collect.